Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast. Blaine, Chris, congratulations! You escaped a room!
We did it! We did it! And we made a friend in Murdats, our bestest of friend.
Murdats appearing for the second time in this arc after appearing in last episode.
Not exactly what I would call a friend in that episode.
Or really in this episode either.
He was unkind, and it was funny because I was like, I was going to say this because we just did a recording of our post-show for Good Morning from Hell, so we're in the post-show of the post-show of the post-show.
Of the post-show.
But you guys are so good at kind of escorting us along, and it was clear that you were like, no, Murdats will not be your friend. He is not here to help. He is a force of nature, and he will kill you if you don't solve this.
Do not invite him in.
Yeah.
There is a solution to this problem, and that is not making friends with Murdats.
Yeah. No, it was a phenomenal time. It was so much fun. I'm so impressed with you guys' ability to give all of the details, but not make it outright like, oh, that's Chekhov's gun. Like, clearly that's the thing. Like, it was so much fun.
Shoot
Murdats, yeah.
You definitely seemed like you suspected me several times throughout the room of hiding things from you. Kept trying to look under things a little bit further.
But it's true. We have this problem, or not problem. We have this with we often have guest episodes. We have guests who have written an escape room who are fans of the show and they would like us to play them, which is really lovely. It's really great that we have the community that does this. But we also have this similar thing where I know in Danny's rooms, if I say I'd like to look closer at this thing, it is not going to be, you never said you wanted to look under this thing. Right? Not unless it's like a real proper, like later on I find a solution that says you must dig under this. And I go, oh my gosh, I better look under that thing I looked at before. But in general, I'm happy with that. But whenever we have new people who are running rooms for us, we go through the same thing. Like,
you have no idea if you're going to be on the same page as the person
I don't
who
know
created
how much
it and
they
how
want
they
me to
hide
search.
things.
So I'm going to say, can I look at the bed? Oh, yes, this. And, under in the pillows, all that jazz. No, it's all good. So I understand exactly. You got to kind of figure out the level of trust that you have with the person running the room. Not even trust, but like the language. Are you gonna 2 hours later be like, you never said I touched the sword to see if it's really metal,
There's also, Chris did something that unlocked a part of my brain where I had to make an adjustment. It was almost a leap from the confines of the rules of tabletop RPG, which is a space that we're pretty familiar with, to like, no, this is like an escape room. Like, I in like actual physical escape rooms, I'm always so mindful of not breaking anything and not doing anything too brash.
Yeah.
But I was forgetting. I was like, no, this is like a fun space. Like, we can try to manipulate or touch this thing or investigate this thing further. But I was trying to find where that comfort level of interactivity with the room was, and you guys helped me get there eventually. It was fun.
Yeah, it's sort of that you have to kind of learn that space. But the other thing that we do on that, and that Danny has had some time to get better at after initially not being happy with it all the time, is just telling people no. Like so often there's this feeling of like, oh, they suggest a thing, you want to honor that to move on to and actually half the time to make the experience better, you just say, nope, doesn't work, dummy. Like, you can't do that, right? Because then they have to find the real thing. And I think that's often the difference with like a lot of tabletop role-playing. If someone goes, I'm going to try this thing, you think, oh, that is pretty cool. Let's make that true. Let's go with it. Let's continue on. But
that's a lot harder to make happen here.
But also it's a lot harder to have an earnestly, like, if anything can be a solution in a puzzle game, then there's no value to finding the real solution. Like, being every time you're told no makes, when you finally figure it out and really solve it, you've actually earned the solution. Like, oh, I found out the real thing I meant to do.
So yeah.
And then the only worry is like making sure that it's not arbitrary, right? If all those solutions felt just as right as each other, then it's not satisfying. But when you get the real one, you should ideally go, oh, I'm an idiot, of course I can do this. And then you do it and it works and you feel good. But you need to spend a while telling people, nope, doesn't work. Nope, sorry. Like you had with the signal fire. Can I take the logs and throw them away? You know what? No, because that's kind of arbitrary. Oh, can I do this? No. But when it's like, oh my God, we have a moat and we have a bucket effectively and we have dry firewood. Oh my gosh, I just need to douse into it. Then you have to make sure that one feels better. That it feels like
Yeah.
obviously that is
Yeah.
the solution.
I think
Something
Chris
that
had
feels-
the thing that it actually finally clicked was like we were stuck on that cogwheel on the gate for so long, and then Chris was like, "There's another cogwheel on the inside. What if you go in and you move that while I move this?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't consider
And-
that." Like I was just like so not
Well, it's like-
considering.
You move together. I feel like that's also a thing because we do a D&D podcast and we try generally to stick together because it just makes
You want to
things
split the party.
split the party. We're not saying we don't, but you try and like go through things together and then thinking, oh yeah, there's a reason why there's two characters in
This
this.
is
Yes.
very significant. I
escape
suspect
room.
that some of our listeners would have clocked onto that really quickly because of how rare it is that I do make them split characters.
And we tried to say that to you as well, like to kind of the sort of weird, subtle meta hint of like you're going to be two people, which is rare in the show. It's not often that two people play two characters. Usually they're one, just so that you might have some
Which is-
context for.
Which
we
is
are
also
two
why
people.
I was very happy when you decided you wanted to name yourselves. Because, no, it wasn't relevant to any puzzles, but it would damn sure make sure that you kept thinking of yourselves as two
Thinking,
separate
yeah.
individuals.
Yeah. I felt bad because Chris and I with Good Morning from Hell, it's like a comedy thing, and we have our roots in comedy. So I was like, we're gonna annoy them so much with like I kissed the king on his lips and things, but it's like that's just fun for me. Those are for me. Those are for nobody else but us. So
No, as far as comedy goes, go for it. My only problem is I then have to like panically look at Bill because I'm not the improv person. So I go, please, I like this. You play along with it. You say yes and.
activate. I'm busy to GMing. Yeah.
And that's also the thing about when we have more and more characters in it. Like Murdatz is a great person to. Eventually, he will just be like, "No, here are my demands." But you get time to play with Murdatz. You get time to
Yeah.
play with some of these people because it's fun. It's a nice thing to spend some time doing something funny and playing and being weird
Yeah.
in the space. But also sometimes when your ideas get too crazy, and if they're going to affect the room, again, Danny can just be like, "No, there's a crowd of people watching you. That's maybe a bad idea."
Yeah, you got to shut it down. I mean, you made a good point earlier, like, and I imagine that it did take quite a few episodes to get used to saying no, like, especially in an
totally.
improv space. It's a yes and kind of environment and stuff like that. But
Very
like,
much so. I
that's
was
not
actually,
going to do you any favors.
you know what? I was really panicking when you were talking about kissing the king because I went, oh man, that's going to become real clear real fast that he's
Yeah,
alive.
because he does wake up and I didn't know that at the time. I hadn't read the outro, but yeah, he does. He is alive.
hadn't even thought about that. He kisses back passionately.
I had been thinking about that all day. I was like, I kissed my dad right on the lips and he just didn't do anything. He waited and then he just sat there until he gave his speech.
He was sitting there in his head, just going, maybe I need to rewrite another will. Maybe this
Yeah.
person shouldn't have the kingdom. They're just kissing a corpse.
Yeah.
What have I done wrong?
That was fun.
But no, I think you two did like really nicely, like keeping up the pace in the room, dealing with all the things. Were there any moments that you felt especially like proud of yourself or smart in something that you did in the room?
I'm holding up my paper so you guys can see, but
Nice.
the language that you essentially taught us
Yes.
was brilliant. I
Yeah.
love that. And then you even gave some context. Apparently, one of those was like the trans.
yeah,
can you tell me
totally.
about that?
Oh,
Yeah.
look, very little to say about that. It's in no way a real thing, but it definitely just feels like the sort of thing where I've got this rune. I only have a set number of terms that I wanted. The only ones that I created were reversible glyphs for male, female, ruler, servant, loyal, disloyal, and known and secret. And trying to combine things to make something meaningful to a
for
person.
6 separate people.
And the idea of
Yeah.
saying something that, look, at its core, if you just translate those words literally, that's a weird thing to say, like known female, secret male. That sounds weird, but a lot of things sound weird when you like break them down.
But
Apparently,
effectively,
so
that's
the
just
idea of saying no, this just sort of has its own overall meaning that someone can like understand this to mean I'm a trans
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, and
Like,
for me,
like
I
the
wrote
first
that-
one essentially was this is an adulterer.
Yeah, and this is for
Yeah.
me, my notes. So I play tested the room before you guys played it. And so I have like my notes, I was just seeing them like, okay, male known betrayer to women. Adulterer. Next one. Yeah, that's a trans person. Like, just like, what are, like, oh, everyone knows them as a woman, but they're secretly a man. Great. Trans man done.
As thorough breakdown as possible into constituent parts, but being able to describe them in few words, like the fact that the one we were looking for is just the one that ended up being spy.
But he said it was secret, secret servant who is loyal to a queen. Like, great, that's a spy for the queen. And then, and it's fun. It's like you build these ideas out of it. And I think you guys did it really well. I think it's one of those puzzles that sometimes needs a little bit of like, hey, you can do this. You need a moment to be like, don't worry, you've got everything. Give it a try. Like,
the fact
maybe you'll be able to put
at
it
the
together.
very start of the room, I found something with a glyph on it, then another thing with a glyph on it, and then the third thing with a glyph on it. Probably made it seem really unlikely that you had found everything relevant. But no, you just happened to go to all the right places for that
at that
puzzle
point,
immediately.
it's like you can translate this entire language, or at least anything you're going to see today.
You did a great job, the both of you, of saying like, you're on the right track. You're doing okay without completely blowing the puzzle.
Giving you have what you need to solve this is helpful, because otherwise you could go down a rabbit hole being like, oh, I gotta maybe in the canoe. I'll go back and like
we'd still be recording the previous episode right now because it would have taken us 24 hours to complete.
My personal one, I noticed this in both the playtest and the real one. Spotting the word known had its own symbol on that
that's the hardest
tapestry.
part.
But both of you just sort of actually, when saying what the tapestry had said, skipped the word known. You both just said, yeah, and so branded him a traitor to this queen.
No. Branded him a known
that word
traitor.
is there, and it's there for a reason. But as soon as you did spot that, being able to flip that into secret, thank you. That went great, and I really appreciated that.
It was very good. Like, I think as soon as you had like a little bit of that push to be like, you can do this, you guys did it. You went like, great, let's break this down, look at this, we have male ruler. And already you were sort of using some of these terms already, like,
oh yeah,
from the beginning, you're like, okay, so we got like male royal and female royal, I guess is what these symbols mean. And it was just like breaking them down into constituent parts.
Understanding
like,
there's separate parts.
The one that got me, and I think maybe got you guys as well, is that like the royal symbol isn't the envelope. It's only the bottom, like that horizontal line is part of the male-female.
The semicircle being flipped upside down for female really changes the overall look of the glyph. So you can't tell that they're the same parts.
The fact that the
just with
servant
one
is the kind of that royal symbol upside down, but it's like, but where's the line at the bottom? It doesn't have one. The other one didn't have a line at the top, dummy. That got me a lot.
I'm terrible for asking this, and I want your honest truth. On a scale from 0 to 100, how did Chris and I do? And without naming names or giving away too many context clues, because I know you have a smart audience that could probably figure it out, could you loosely talk about one of the worst episodes you talked about? Because I felt like we were doing bad for a minute, and I was like, I hope that this isn't just their bombed episode where they just couldn't do it.
You guys did perfectly fine, right? Like there are people who would do much better. Usually people who have been on the show a couple times.
I would
it's about learning the language of the show.
I would predict that a worst episode probably would have come about when we tried to do like 10 guest game masters in a row and do them all in a span of 2 or 3 weeks. And so by about episode 7, I was out of energy. I had nothing left to give.
We've been very bad guests on the show.
I think I was the worst guest on our show.
I think the hardest one to absolutely no criticism towards the actual guest, who was fantastic, but we had once a guest come on and play by themselves with no one else playing alongside them. And they did perfectly fine. They did exactly as well as any guest would do on the show, but not having a person to bounce your ideas off makes this game so hard. Like we basically went, look, we're not going to do that again. The episode was great. But but there was so much more time of being so stuck and so lost because you don't have what you need is like someone to verbalize your idea to and someone to come in and add that little bit. Like you guys must have felt it in this room. Like you'd be like, I've almost got it. And then someone says, no, wait. What about the moat? You're like, oh, of course. And when you take that element out and go down to one player, the show becomes so much harder to do. So the person who came on did great. They did as well as anyone could do on a one-player version of this show. Like I sort of play these one player, but I have the benefit of having play tested hundreds, like 100 of these.
You say that we've done it once. We technically did it twice. Our first episode.
You're right. Our first episode was like that as well, actually. But it just requires so much more like hinting and coming in, and then that's not quite as fun because it's not.
It also, I reckon, would feel like if one of you was on your own, I assume you'd feel a bit more judged.
Yes, yeah. You don't have an ally.
Yeah, you're just like throwing
together.
stuff out, and it's just hitting a wall.
Well, and this will be cut from the original episode, but at one point Chris needed to go take a bathroom break, and I was still here. Like Chris, I was like 3 inches from the screen, reading the letter over and over with the tildes, and just being like, "I can do this. What does this mean?" And I didn't have you here to vocalize it with, so like. I was like, I could see how that would be very difficult to go solo on one of these.
And even especially if there's written materials to be looking over, sometimes one person needs to be doing the talking while the other zones in and concentrates.
Yeah. But I think you did really well. I think the tilde thing was interesting because it was like about the tools at your disposal and looking at it thinking, I think we could, like, can we solve this? Can we solve this? Can we solve this? And the answer was always going to be no. You just got to find someone who might know.
Yeah, we needed more information. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also you did really well.
Yeah, and I like the cascading effect of, and this happened. I feel like Chris found more. He had more breaks in the case than I did. Chris, you'd be a great little detective. but like where I think there was a moment where you were like, "What if we went to the moat? Don't we have like a helmet or something?" I was like, "And the helmet is airtight, and it'll be perfect for carrying water." Perfect. Yeah, and we were like high-fiving each other, like, "Yeah."
But I mean, that is part of the thing.
That's
like,
what
when
we
it clicks,
want.
You want it when it clicks to be like, oh,
satisfying.
Yes, like that's it. Like, well, not even, like it should be satisfying, but it should also be like unambiguous. I think the worst type of solution, which can happen on this show, and it's very hard to avoid. But the worst solution is when someone says, yeah, I suppose that might work. I guess maybe we'll give it a try just to see. Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah, sure. You know, it was kind of arbitrary that it was that and not something else. But yeah, okay, great. That's the solution. Like you always want to avoid that. You always want when people stumble on the right idea before it happens for them to be like, oh, yes, okay, yes, that's definitely, yes, great. That all makes sense. Everything's come together. Of course, it must be this. And I think the bucket was a great idea. It was like, you know, you've had this airtight helmet for a long time, or the one thing you're like, it is weird that it's airtight. Like that was a thing that was told to us, and I don't know why.
It's weird to describe a helmet as airtight.
Yeah, right.
It sounds like you might kill yourself wearing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So you have this odd fact.
It's perfectly tight helmet. I'm just gonna put it on.
But Danny, to your credit, you made it part of what the helmet was. It was a cheap piece of crap. It was like a Party City thing that it has no value or no purpose because it's like you can't even see through the dang thing. So like it was such a nothing detail that was like, aha.
Yeah.
Great.
When you bring it back, you have something to like hang the idea on. You're like, okay, can we use the helmet? Yeah, we probably could. No, it was explicitly an airtight helmet. Oh my gosh. Now this has like value. Now I care about this fact. Like I thought it was weird, but now it's meaningful. And it's a good, I think that helps lock the ideas in.
There were two things that I don't really think had any significance. So I'm curious if there was like reasoning behind it or if, okay. So one of them was the interesting shape of the door. Was there anything to that or was that just because you drew it that way?
It was mostly because I drew it that way and I wanted the crank to be on a wall facing that direction, facing the up and down direction and not a left and right direction.
Oh, so it was in the same line as what you pictured the bridge
exactly.
as?
So it was like pointing towards the thing that it was related to outside. It was not important, but for some reason in the design process, it was really important to me at the time.
I understand that because a lot of times when I'm DM'd or written things, anytime I've written, I'll come up with these, or even directed stuff where I'll put all these little details into the image, or I have this like, it's so clearly this and this, and then it's not. Sometimes it's like, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah,
it's like the things in your head are.
There is also like it's hard to see the like to understand. I don't know. It's hard to fully describe the value, but it can sometimes be super meaningful. Where if you've described something to someone and they've pictured it in a slightly different orientation, there are parts of their brain sometimes will go like, well, that can't possibly be the solution because these two things are perpendicular to each other. And you go, I never said they were. Like, no, but like when I picture it in my head, that doesn't make sense as a solution. So therefore, I was never going to get there. You're like, oh, well, actually, they're not. perpendicular. But I can see it's like as soon as someone just imagines something too small, they'll never think, oh, I never thought I had to put that in there because isn't that like 7 times as large as this thing? No, you just imagine it. You made that fact up. But it can affect people's ability to get to a solution, right? Like, so sometimes you do want things like it could well be valuable to someone playing this game that the door juts out so that the crank can be visioned as being on the same like line as and that might make someone go, oh, I wonder if these things are connected by some integral internal chain or something. But if they put it on the opposite wall, they might think, oh, well, there's no way that's
not related.
This doesn't make sense. The game is flawed. Doesn't make sense.
The other thing that I had a question about, and I mentioned it, and you guys yes-anded it, but I thought it was just because of that. You mentioned the candles. Did they have any significance, or were they supposed to meant to be adhesive?
They were absolutely meant to be glue.
The wax. When you said we'll use the wax to stick them together, that was. If you hadn't said, I could feel Danny about to ask you how do you stick them together, and you jumped in with, and we're going to use the wax to stick them together. And
look at me.
And it's like, great. That was you solving that issue before
it became an issue. Okay, good. I was wondering that same thing because Blaine jumped on that, and I didn't know if y'all were just yes-anding or if that.
No, that was just.
It was. I was going to say, great. You've cut out a bunch of words. They're lying on the floor in front of you.
Yeah, what are you going to do? That's just
Good
pieces.
job.
That's the squares of paper. What do you do? And
I'm just imagining.
So jumping straight. That was the only purpose for the candles was to do wax.
In real life, if I was trying to do that, cut up a bunch of letters and then take some wax, cut up a bunch of letters with a sword, then I would end up severing an artery, dying out. There'd just be a bloody arts and crafts mess.
Massacre.
Well,
what happened here?
That's why no one's hiring you as a palace hand. You don't have the skills required.
The Hobby Lobby killer struck again.
One interesting. There was one thing that I did change on the fly in this room because of your actions, and I feel like it wasn't exactly because of your actions, but the way that you had done certain things through the room made me see as I was talking that this was going to be not an issue, but something that I should be aware of. And that was that you kept that sword with you. You loved that sword. You wanted to stab things with that sword a lot. And so when we got to the point where in my notes, opening up the coffin, in my notes it is you need to use the oar to leverage open that coffin. But as I was telling you, as you started to go to the coffin and try to open it, I went, I think they're going to use the sword. Wait a second, that's okay, because yet again, as should have been the solution the whole time, there are 2 of you. You need 2 things.
I thought that was good. Like the fact that, 2 levers.
I will change the notes to make that the real thing, which I rarely make the effort to do.
And then again, that's purely because like, at that point as well, you could just say, I suppose, use the sword, but then you'd get rid of the boat entirely.
Yeah.
But then at that point, you want to get rid of the moat entirely. The boat has value in not just making the moat a body of water, put it in a bucket, but giving it a little bit of context so you're not quite sure, so it feels like a solution to use the moat as water rather than just, there is water here. And so there's value in keeping the boat, but then you need to use the oar because otherwise the boat isn't useful. So it's kind of that weird little balance of like, you've got to make something useful, or like the candles, you're never going to use the wax. You got to make them part of the room. We did in the last room that we did have a quantum shovel, where it was, if players had decided to dig around in a certain area before, then no shovel would appear. But if they hadn't, by the time they unlocked something else, I'd give them a shovel so that they thought about digging. Should I be digging? It's like a variable hint that can appear.
Again, very rare stuff.
Has there ever been a situation where you guys were recording and then you yes-anded something on a fly? It was just like a throwaway detail that you're like, yeah, sure. There's a leather bookmark or something. And then later they like create this whole unhinged solution using this thing. But it was like,
this is
you
why
couldn't find a way to take it away, you were like, oh no.
This is why I worry about improving too much, and why I think I'll be more flexible towards the end of a room rather than at the beginning, just so that things don't snowball, unravel. But I wouldn't be surprised. I can't think of any off the top
I can't think of an
my
example,
head.
but it does feel like it may have happened.
I will definitely believe it.
Though we do always reserve the right.
I know one idea.
Oh, yeah.
How about when we had Let's Learn Everything on, and the decision was, for no particular reason, This is 3 players came on the podcast being a single character, or so we thought, because we decided to go along with they are actually 3 children in a trench coat.
Yes,
Oh,
they decided
awesome.
they wanted to play as 3 kids in a trench coat. And then by the end, it made sense. Like, we managed to work it into the
worked,
conclusion
I guess.
narrative, and it was like, this actually makes so much more sense. This was written for a human, but if it's written for 3 kids in a trench coat, it works even better narratively. This is great. Let's pretend it was all, like, we'll pay it off in the outro. But that's the sort of thing where you might think, yeah, it's great that you're 3 kids in a trench coat, haha, and then later on just be like, wait a minute, there's a puzzle in this one that relies on the fact that they can't be in 3 places at once, but they can. Oh no,
Would've been horrible.
Luckily that didn't happen, but you do have to be careful when you introduce things like that. Like, for example, in this room, if you had been like, oh, actually, no, we're going to play as one person who's like a 2-headed monster, it'll be funny. We would have had to be like, oh, no, you won't, actually. Sorry, you'll play as 2 people. You play as a 2-headed monster with really, really long arms.
Yeah. Well, the two-headed monsters.
Yeah.
yeah. There you go. The fact that you guys, with like the 3 kids in a trench coat and stuff like that, that's like the best part of what makes like D&D fun, is just like it's that collaborative storytelling. Like the fact that you guys stumbled upon it is something that you even thought was like better than was originally designed. That sounds like a fun episode. That sounds
Absolutely.
like a lot of fun.
And I like to think that happens sometimes with stories when I do connected arcs. Like, I will come up with the rooms, I'll come up with the stories, but then maybe along the lines, the guests contribute certain ideas and certain elements of it that I will throw into the last rooms a bit more because it feels good that way.
Yeah.
For instance, in this room, I don't think that Murdats was not originally there. There were peasants, unnamed peasants, but then in the last room, we sort of got the idea of, I don't think this is the last we've seen of old Murdats.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, he was just a character in the previous room, but, because it's fun to play with a character sometimes, he just became a very enjoyable idiot.
He was in the stocks, right?
Yeah, the
From
guy in the
previous-
stocks.
yeah.
And so he's in the stocks and they keep arguing with him and he becomes a bit of a known guy who's just annoying enough to be fun. And so, yeah, at the end, it was this feeling of like, we'll probably see him again. Why not?
At that
There's
point, he was not
space for it.
planned to be there.
Incredible.
And it was great. It
That's
was
so
nice to
fun.
see Murdats again. Now, people who've listened to this episode will be like, oh, it's Murdats. Woo, we love him. He's back. Or, oh my God, I can't believe he's still doing Murdats. I hate this guy so much. But no, look, yeah, it was really lovely to have you on playing the room. I think you did very well. 82 out of 100. There you go.
Yeah, okay.
That's a solid distinction.
It was
Passing.
fun. It was enjoyable. Because even when people aren't like, even if it's like, oh, it took us a while to solve this puzzle. If it was fun and interesting the whole way, that's better than if you were just like, oh, idiots, these glyphs mean male, royal, in service to, obviously, next. It's like, okay, well, cool, you solved the puzzle, but I don't care. So no, you were really lovely to have. As we sort of half said at this point in this show, I was also a guest on your show. I was a guest on Good Morning from Hell. We actually just recorded that a little bit before recording this post-show. And I think for people listening, it came out a few days ago as of this episode's release. And that was a heap of fun. Do you want to tell people, like, Good Morning from Hell, I'll tell you what I think the show is now that I've been on it, which is, it's Chris, you are playing yourself, going to hell, and you've been cursed. And now, as a podcaster, I do think it's odd that you have cursed yourself in hell with the punishment of producing a podcast. That says something bad about how you live your life, I think. But you have to produce a podcast. You're joined by your co-host, who is the brother of Satan, Clayton.
Yep.
Is it a punishment for Clayton as well, or is he just here for fun?
I think it's you got the broad strokes. It's Clayton's podcast, and Chris's punishment, his eternal punishment, is that he has to be on the show as the co-host with Clayton, and we're going through every single person in hell.
I think it's we've established a ton of lore with it, but kind of Satan is the president of hell.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Clayton. Initially, he was the vice president. Then he tried to run for president. It's like he's kind of the younger brother who never amounted. So he's like, I'm going to make a podcast.
He's one of the Wahlberg brothers. That's not Mark. You know?
Yeah. So he's like always in his brother's footsteps. So podcasting is one of his like schemes to do stuff.
Yeah, and it's quite fun. And I was a guest on the last episode playing Rumpelstiltskin. who I'm still not sure whether he's actually in hell or whether he can just teleport to hell. I'm really not quite sure about Rumpelstiltskin.
I can't wait to listen.
I don't know if it matters.
He's there.
You just kind of seem omnipotent. Like he could do anything. I don't know. The thing about Rumpelstiltskin, and this is true of the actual Brothers Grimm lore, but then also what you came up with. He could do anything he wants.
He's got a rather muddy set of powers.
I asked him that yesterday when we had decided that he was going to be playing Rumpelstiltskin, and so I decided to give him a bit of a grilling about things that I didn't understand about this character. I said, how'd you do that?
Yeah, it doesn't come up in this one. He can just do what he wants. He's Rumpelstiltskin.
But also, he's a terrible negotiator.
He's super self-destructive.
Real bad at deals.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was very silly, very ridiculous. But I thought it came out really well. So for people who want to listen to it, you can listen to it. It came out a few days ago. Go and check it out as Good Morning from Hell. I'll ask you the same question that you asked us, or you asked me in the post show of that, which is, how did you get the idea for Good Morning from Hell? Like, what started you on that podcast? You're like, I know, let's interview characters from hell. Where did that come from?
It was a long, several years kind of gestating where I was like, oh man, I was like, I think it'd be fun to do a podcast set in hell. But initially the concept was like news based, where it was like, oh yeah, if the people who are in hell, like Joseph Stalin, are commentating on the current news today, there's like a lot of color commentary there that kind of enlightens what's happening. But I was like, we were working at a company called Rooster Teeth, and we didn't really do a lot of political stuff and also topical stuff also. So I kind of just set on that. Me and Blaine were on an improv comedy show, kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, but our version of it.
But worse.
And yeah, exactly. And we'd done a bunch of episodes, so we started kind of doing like themed episodes, and we'd been on it so many times that we're like, let's do characters.
We were bored of it, so we were let's not play Blaine and Chris. What's something else we can do? What's a fun dynamic?
And then we came up with Clayton and his intern.
Yeah. Nice.
And we did that, and that was fun. Then a year or so later, we were talking about different ideas and things, and I'm a big fan of Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've been listening to their show, and I was like, I love they have this improv world and I was like, oh, you know what? Taking that idea of the hell of like a podcast from hell, but take the characters that we made in that other show, but just do like interviews. And I was like that. And so that's kind of how it coalesced. It took like 3 different years and 3 different pieces.
I'm just picturing the James Cameron story where he writes Alien, he adds a big S with a dollar sign.
Aliens.
And I'm picturing you writing Hello for the Magic Tavern and coming up and just crossing out the O and be like,
hell. No, it was, it was a lot of fun. And like Chris said, we do have a lot of lore, but we do pride ourselves in it being a show. And before we offline, Bill, we were talking to you about this, about, you guys have had such a range of incredible guests and stuff like that. You can hop in at any point. You don't have to know you don't have to start from episode 1. So listeners that are listening to Escape This Podcast, they could hop into just Bill's episode and they're going to love it and understand.
Oh no, what's going on? What are all these references I have? It's an accessible show, which is great because it means that you can jump if you want to go and listen to me be a tiny little imp man climbing onto people's shoulders and doing really bad deals right in their ear. You can go and listen to that right away. And then if you enjoy it, you can go and do the rest or pick guests you've heard of and jump around and be like, oh, is there anyone that you're like, if you had to suggest an episode for people to listen to, do you have like I loved this episode with this guest, I thought it was the best we've ever done? Or is it just whatever? We've
had so many different ranges of guests, but also like the types of people they play. So if you like history, we've had, the first episode we did was Napoleon. We've had Christopher Columbus. We've had Ben Frank, George Washington. We've done like tons of historical figures, but then also we've done pop culture stuff where it's like Freddy Krueger or like
Freddy. We had a court case. We also don't just stay in the realm of this is a podcast where a guest comes on. Sometimes we'll do like Freddy v. Jason, where I'm the judge and Chris is the lawyer for Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees.
And it was
that's a phenomenal one.
Yeah, it was like a roommate civil dispute. They were roommates who were like arguing about who owed who what.
Now,
Yeah.
have you ever rejected a character pitch on the basis that you didn't want to say that person was in hell? Has anyone been like, I'll be this cool person? You're like, actually, I think in my world, I'd like for that person to be in heaven.
Yeah.
We try to stay away from people who died recently, just because we want to be respectful and sympathetic to family members.
Although there's one person on the top of my mind that the moment he dies, I'm saying, hey, let's get to recording this immediately. I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to get in trouble, but yeah, we do that. We're very respectful.
Oh,
we
Jacob
I
Elordi,
would
you
say
got to be
we're very-
careful.
We try vaguely respectful. But one thing we've never had Hitler on. And I don't think that was
and
like
that's because you think Hitler's in heaven.
No, Bill.
That's what you're saying is that in your opinion. Okay, that's interesting. A strange stance to take.
There's some people that are just unapproachable. It's like, if
Yeah,
this
like,
isn't
where's the-
funny,
where's
we
the
don't-
Sometimes
joy
not
in
fun.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we don't want
Hitler's
to give
been
this person the time of day.
played some like comedically some.
Yeah.
And we're like,
do you have anything new to add to that
let's
topic?
skip Hitler. Like,
Yeah. We've had Chris mentioned before, but like pop culture people, like we had Troy Baker on playing his Joker. Like he did Joker in one of the Batman games. So that was fun.
That's
Like we
cool.
had Greg Miller from Kind of Funny, and he was doing Santa Claus. Like, well, we have these tentpole moments where we'll have like a fairly big guest, and we're pretty down to do whatever as long as they just come on the show and have fun with us. So
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, look, people can go and check it out right now. They have a great excuse to go and check it out, which is that I just did an episode. So go and listen.
There you go.
Have some fun, and then hopefully listen to a whole bunch more, because it was a lot of fun to do. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone who knows this show knows that if I can be given a weird guy to do a voice for it, I'll do it. We should have had Murdats on the show. That would have been relatable to
Murdats.
everybody. Everyone would be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they got Murdats."
what a
booking.
get.
But yeah, look, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for playing through a room.
Billy, you feel like you're doing wrap-up sorts
I
of
am
voices.
sort of doing wrap up.
We haven't even talked about the arc, like as an arc.
Oh, you're right. We haven't talked about. We finished an entire story.
Yeah.
How many
We
episodes
haven't
was
talked
it?
about creating this room. We haven't talked about any of the room creation. Just
But
the
we
room
have
playing.
been talking for 40 minutes.
Tough.
Yeah, we finished it. You guys were the end of this storyline.
It
So we
was
got
a
to see the
5-part
culmination
room.
of it.
Each of the princes and
Right.
princesses got their own little adventure, and then they came together.
Oh.
At the start of this, so I can go back several pages in my notebook that I have in front of me to see where I started this arc, and it looked perhaps a little bit different. I just have my first line just says semi-connected rooms based on character. A family?
That's where it started.
That was all I
Wow.
started with. I don't know when I came up with royalty as such, because the next line just says, everyone trying to win something in different ways. Domination, sneakiness, charm, pity, logic. Which would Granddad want to win? He started out as a grandfather, I guess. I don't know when that changed either. Yeah, it still says Granddad all along this page. My original idea, my original hopes for this arc was also that I could get all 4 of those prince and princesses rooms done simultaneously, and that the guests could choose which one that they wanted to help. Turns out I can't finish 4 rooms on that tight a deadline, so that failed miserably.
I also liked that. I was like, that Tom guy, he sounds great. Both of you guys are like, no,
No.
Tom's
Tom
bad.
is not great.
We don't
We
like
don't-
Tom.
we
And I
don't
was
like Tom.
Yeah, screw Tom. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was lots of fun. Every single one of them just ended up with slight eyebrow raises. In the end, I don't know, Connor and Anne could have been worse.
Yeah, mostly okay. Connor was an okay guy, except apparently he just loves war too much.
War, yeah.
That's just what he
and
thinks is
Anne
most
was,
important.
Anne was fun.
Yeah, she's all right. She tackled a criminal.
Yeah, she just
all
helped
good.
out the nobility. It didn't really hurt anybody.
No, so in general, but it doesn't matter. None of these can do it on their own.
Bad.
You
bad
gotta have
rules.
lots of skills.
Yeah.
Do you feel it all odd, Danny?
Mhm.
The fact that we had 4 sets of guests playing other characters, investigators and spies and problem solvers, and they don't get any reward, and it's only our last characters who suddenly get to inherit the kingdom.
They
I
got
did feel like we
paid.
hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. We get to be king King and King.
King and King.
I'm sorry,
Dual kings.
Those players all got paid for their investigative works, and you don't think that now that these illegitimate nobodies are inheriting the throne, that the other four, you think that they're not going to keep hiring these people to try to get the kingdom back?
I don't know.
This could be a decades-long arc.
I think it was rude to our earlier guests to deny them the riches of the kingdom.
It was definitely questions that I had, like, who do I want the players' characters to be? Do I want them to be the princes and princesses? And very quickly, no, I didn't. I wanted them to be more objective than that, because I didn't want them to feel like they valued war more than the other characteristics and things like that.
You have to go in with a blank slate, not a ton of character motivation besides we got to solve this thing. So that's what an interesting approach to like getting the player into the scheme.
Yeah.
I will say, I remember you guys saying, yeah, this is the end of a big arc and we've had so many episodes and so many guests on. And then when Chris and I ended up being the kings, it felt like stolen valor, like imposter syndrome.
Thanks for getting me here, idiots.
So unearned. I was like, those poor people.
It'll stay that way as well. I assume that that's right for the characters.
There was a fun reference here that some people in our Discord
eventually
did notice and found, which only got a little bit of reference in this, which is each of these 4 princes and princesses were introduced with sort of a vague descriptor. Do you have a list of those descriptors?
I do, but in a different book for some reason. So Connor, the red-blooded prince, Matilda, princess with the lily-white tongue, Anne of the blackened hearth, and Tom, the pale-eyed prince.
Yeah, and we had 4 people who were red and black and white and pale. And some people in our Discord were like, those are the colors associated with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Oh.
And there is a reference to that in the King's
yes.
notes. They were correct. There was a reference that he says they will, like the 4 horsemen, destroy this kingdom with their, So that was your intention from the start?
Yes, I am not religious in any way. I have no religious background.
I love the apocalypse.
But the 2 fun little things that I like throwing into stuff, I like 4 horsemen, I like 7 deadly sins.
Revelations. Loving it.
The name of this room is Revelations, as I've called it. I literally, in my notes, I have called them like war, conquest, famine, death, revelations.
I just shout out to the listeners of the show. The fact that they were able to figure out just based on color that they're the 4 horsemen. You are so much smarter than me.
The thing you don't remember
here on the show
about our audience is they're all a big bunch of nerds.
Love them.
But yeah, it was. I wondered if maybe it would get there once Pale came out, because that was the 4th one.
Pale.
And that was when it started to hit. And I got to sit back. The one thing that I will say, so obviously War being Prince Connor, that was pretty self-explanatory. What were the other ones? Conquest? Yeah, to an extent that being related to Matilda and her blackmail. People seemed like that was totally fair. Death. Well, not only death just being, I made Tom just a sad, pitiable failure of a character. That room literally ends with the king's quote-unquote death.
Nice.
So that felt relevant. A little bit of uncertainty about what Famine was doing with Princess Anne's room, where hers was just all about getting socialites on side.
There was some food in the room. There was a eating competition and gathering food.
I do enjoy the going into reading the actual passages about the 4 horsemen to see exactly what they say and like, why do we call this one famine?
Oh gosh, it's such capitalist propaganda to call it famine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what actually seems to happen with famine is it's a dude on a horse who comes along with some scales and says, oh, you want this little bit of grain? That'll be $5 zillion.
Yeah.
So association with wealth disparity seemed like a pretty clear one. But the other one that I find nice, this is the only one of the horsemen who talks. And this was a talking room. This was all about sociability.
Fun. Oh.
Well, there you go. A very lovely biblical theme.
As I always do.
Oh, you had him on the show?
We had the 4 horsemen on our show as well.
Amazing.
We're in the interconnected podcast universe.
Yeah, it was just the same guy playing the 4 different characters.
Yeah, he would leave and then he'd come back and he'd be the same voice playing the other.
Oh, my brother was just here.
The other one that I like is the mention that when death comes up, it says that the pale horse comes up with death riding him and Hades behind him, and I just went, I'm curious about what this is talking about. Like when the Bible talks about Hades, Where are you going with this?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
like-
interesting to see that language in the Bible to be like, this is a
Yeah.
reference to Greek religion. Why is it here?
Huh.
But just,
Yeah.
just a turn of phrase.
Yeah, I was
They-
just interested.
That's a pretty big thing. They're acknowledging
Thank you.
another religion in that.
It's really weird
yeah.
to go back. I was reading
It's a hat on a
recently-
hat. All right, let's be clear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's weird stuff all the time. Like, I got really interested reading some Plato, in which he has Socrates often just refer to God as a singular thing, and it's just a thing that it would do. He'd be like, this God is doing this, and these are the gods. But of course, God would never do this. God wouldn't make this. God has created all that, and he's like talking about a set, and it's just like, yeah, the Greeks just did this.
Yeah, the
They had a
monotheism and polytheism,
but
it
don't
ends
worry
up
about it.
blurring.
Like, it's kind of, God was also just like a vague individual concept. It's a whole big thing. Don't worry about it. That's just what they did. Sometimes
I
God
like
was
that you-
singular, and it was just like a vague concept of one central God that didn't get a name. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll
Yeah.
move on. And it's just
Yeah.
really interesting to see these things be much more like, you know, you learn them as a kid, and it's just like, these are how things were, and this is the rules, and everybody did this. You're like, actually, nah, people were just people being.
Yeah.
It's all kind of blurry and grey the entire time.
Yeah.
There's more to it than you think. But yeah, like Hades appearing in the Bible as a
Yeah.
concept or a
As a
place,
cameo,
or a person,
yeah.
or a
Yeah,
thing.
he's like, we need like an Avengers style climax, right? All
Crossover.
right. So
Yeah.
we need. All right, let's get their God crossing into our apocalypse.
Death,
yeah,
Death
that'll
arrives
get
on
'em.
his pale horse, and a portal opens up next to him and says, "On your right, Death," and it's Hades appearing. Yeah, it's. But yeah, it was a really nice thing to come together. Did you want it? Like, in the end, it's sort of a reference in the final room. It's like,
Oh,
they would
definitely.
be like the Four Horsemen if they had this kingdom. Do you ever have a plan for, like, it's going to be really heavy?
Legitimately.
Or was it always
Okay,
at
so
this level?
like I said, those 4 rooms with the princes and princesses, I wanted them all done at the same time, which meant I left the 5th final room for a really long time. And for the most part, I didn't know, I only had the faintest of ideas of what was going to go on in this 5th room. And I considered going so far as these princes and princesses fighting literally causes an apocalypse.
Oh,
Fun. That'd be fun.
So yeah, I was completely unsure. I debated whether the grandfather at the time knew that this was going to happen and was trying to cause an apocalypse. These characters went in some potentially really strange directions.
So, I mean, in speaking about that, you know, it sounds like you almost could have gone in like exploring like deities and stuff like that as a potential thing. Like with your show, do you guys explore, like, this was a medieval setting? What are some crazy different settings that you guys do? Have you done like sci-fi? Have you done aliens?
We've done a connected arc of an ET style alien trying to get home, and then there's an invasion of Earth. We've
Cool.
done a chocolate factory. Willy Wonka thing. We've done a Truman Show for 10 episodes of
wow.
a character
Fun.
figuring out that they're in a Truman Show situation. We've done
Wait,
our
so did they
second-
know at the top of the show that they were in the Truman Show?
No,
No.
they figure it out as they
Wow.
go. And
Oh,
there's
that's fun.
twists. We've done a our second season was a 10 episode arc about a demon summoning cult in a small town. Trying to destroy the world, which was good
Oh.
fun.
Yeah, we've gone in a few
haunted
different
houses.
directions. Often sci-fi is the one that I avoid the most because learning new technology for an escape room scares me. But also, in general, I will do fantasy and sci-fi elements and things, and I don't shy away from them too much, but you do have to be quite careful about them because as soon as magic can become a solution to things, that can take away from your logic and deductive skills being what has solved a thing, and trying to make
Yeah.
sure that stays the primary force behind the escape rooms, because that's what escape rooms are about. It's a challenge.
MacGuffins.
But
Yeah.
it's also a good to remember how much joy you can get out of some very mundane feeling stuff. Like, we've done
This is true.
rooms that just like, yep, you're in a gym and it's closed and you got to get out. You're in.
It just sounds like
a-
every time I go into
you're in
the
a bowling
gym,
alley.
I'm trying to. How do I get out of here?
Yeah, the
and you
escape
can
room.
get a surprising amount of really interesting and fun content. Like, you don't need something big and ridiculous and over the top. It can
Yeah.
just be like, you're in a hotel room and there's a door that you want to open in the hotel because you don't know where it goes. All
Did
right.
you ever do any that were like way too close to home where you're like, oh, this feels like I don't like I don't know, like during COVID, did you do like a vaccine related one?
Okay,
Get out of this house.
So-
Some guy's coughing on you. Run.
Not exactly, but we did do one that was you were bees in a beehive. So this would have been in 2022, and it started with your queen is dead and there is a horrible disease going around.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
fun.
all the bees are dying.
So yeah,
Okay.
sounds a bit like that.
We've done some.
Yeah, there are definitely
Do you like jazz?
plenty. There are definitely plenty of escape rooms that do. There is a virus on the loose.
Yeah.
So it's style of things. That's definitely a common one. So it doesn't surprise me when those sorts of things show up. I don't know how many other times it has. There have been some times where I've avoided a couple of things because it just went, no, right now that's going to make me too sad.
Yeah.
In this room, you need to reopen the Strait of Hormuz because it arrives. Like, well, no, maybe that's maybe too much, maybe too topical.
Oh. But it can
You
also
must
it can
solve
make
a diplomatic solution between Iran and
And you can't get out of the room until there's a deal.
I do think that the biggest impact that this has on me is less about themes of the room in general and more what I want the room's villain to be, because I always want someone that you can love to hate, but in a fun way, as opposed to giving them any characteristics of the real world evil villains that will just make you sad to be thinking about while you're playing your fun game.
It's
Murder.
we get that with murder mystery stuff as well. Where you have to be
Yes.
like, this person has been killed and you need to solve their crime. We need to get them to the right level that you're not really super distraught that they're dead, but also that you don't want to not solve the crime.
Yeah.
Like, no, who cares? Whoever killed this person should have a parade. Like, you got to find the balance. So it's, and sometimes there have been ones that's just like, oh man, this is really sad. This person is dead. Why have you killed this person in my mystery?
I really feel it. Oh man, you can tell that this room 5, I wasn't really sure where it was going to start, because typically for all of my notes, like, look at my first ones. Can you tell the difference, Billy? Look at, so this was room 2.
Sure.
Sorry
It's
that
a-
you guys
it's a
can't
lovely-
see
it's a
this. The
lovely
camera's
map.
really
Yeah.
far away.
There's arrows everywhere.
Next one.
A lovely map. There are arrows everywhere connecting everything. Yep, a lovely map. The arrows look a little bit more confused.
And now let's go to the 5th one.
Oh.
What's different?
You have no basic arrow connections of any ideas. You have a lot of dot points and notes and writing trying to figure out what's going on.
Typically the first thing that I will put when I write my room notes is I will draw a map, I will have a 1-sentence explanation of the premise, and then I will start listing things that are in the room. That will be my first page of notes. This one, I have started with a lot of dot points and just say, okay, things that need to be in this room, things I want to be in this room, because it was clear that I did not know how I was going to actually put them there yet. So the things that I needed were Connor's soldiers and socialites, Matilda's blackmail, and Tom's sadness slash commoners. I didn't know that I was going to give him the commoners at that point.
True. He just was a guy who loves getting pity.
And then the things that I wanted were illegitimate servant kids, king not really dead, a lesson to be learned.
Well, the fact that you guys not only have the show, but release the, I guess, modules for free for your people to run them on their own. Like, there's the business part of my brain's like, monetize this. Bill, Danny, what are you doing? But like, that's so cool. And I love it seems like the relationship you guys have with your community. It was a pleasure being on. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
It was. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope people go and check out your show. There'll be links in this episode. There was in last week's episode as well to Good Morning from Hell and Tales from the Stinky Dragon, which people should check out and have fun. That maybe in the future we'll be in Stinky Dragon people as well.
Oh, we're
knows?
totally
Pop up.
gonna be hitting you up to do voices.
Yeah.
I'd
Because
love that.
we have all our NPCs are like voiced by friends and of ours. So yeah, we will you're gonna be like, dang it, I gotta go record for Stinky Dragon.
When it comes to like anything that you can call voice acting, we leap on that.
Yeah.
We will do
Right.
that.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and playing the room. Thank you, Danny, for writing it, putting it together.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Yeah.
While we're talking about our great community, thank you everybody at home for listening. If you want to help support the show, the best thing you can do is tell people about the show. Word of mouth is still the best way to get people listening to new podcasts. So just go and grab someone on the street and shake them by the shoulders and say, listen, listen to Escape This Podcast, you idiot. And then that'll
My name's
help. That's
Murdats.
the best way.
Do you want me to leave you alone?
Do it.
That was a point in the room, in room 4, where they needed to do something for him to get him to leave them alone.
Yeah. And also thank you for everybody. The other way to support the show is through Patreon. That's where we make all of our money for the show. We don't run any ads or anything like that. So all our support is through Patreon. It keeps all of our bills paid and food in fridge. So thank you everybody who supports us there. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Anybody at any level can appear as an NPC in our rooms. So, I mean, thank you for the second time to Murdats. And all of our
Queen of the Lizards.
And Queen of the Lizards.
Queen of the Lizards.
Connor, Tom, Matilda, Anne, everyone who was listed here was. The only new one that we got for this episode was, thank you so much, Peter, who became our king.
Yes, thank you for the support. And there's also a huge amount of stuff. There's every week there's a new bonus episode for our $5 donors of the playtest audio or us doing Encyclopedia Brown mysteries or a whole bunch of fun stuff. There's a charmed recap podcast for our $10 donors. Again, it doesn't make any sense. It's not part of our brand, but it's just fun to talk about charmed.
It's real fun.
There's weekly cryptic crosswords and for our $20 donors there's a whole backlog of trivia and monthly video. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I think we're releasing like 5 episodes a week right now in general. So thank you everybody who supports us there. It's a really nice way to help us actually keep the show running and free for everybody else who wants to listen to it, because it does take a lot of effort to make. If we didn't have the Patreon, we couldn't really keep making the show.
It
so
lets
thank
us
you.
be able to actually concentrate on making stuff rather than panicking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always lovely. So thank you everybody who supports us there. Thank you again, Chris and Blaine, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
And that's it. We're done. Bye, everybody.
Bye.